And new developments tonight in a high-profile fight over gun laws and the 2016 race for the White House. It started last week when the Democratic mayor of Milwaukee suggested that Governor Scott Walker and Republican lawmakers were to blame for a recent increase in gun violence in that city, a claim we asked Governor Walker about just yesterday.
It's just ridiculous. And the mayor, who some people forget was the candidate who ran against me both in the general election and the recall election, I think politically has his own motives for doing that. It's not a matter of more laws, it's a matter of enforcing them. When we have criminals who do bad things, putting them behind bars for enough time to keep them safe from the public. Giving law-abiding citizens the right to protect themselves either through concealed carry or through castle doctrine to protect themselves, their family, their loved ones, and their property is appropriate. The problem is not law-abiding citizens seeking protection. It's criminals seeking to find illegal firearms, and we need to crack down on those things.
While Governor Walker defends his record, Senator Ted Cruz was talking guns in New Hampshire this past weekend, calling for laws allowing for concealed carry on military bases. Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey also used his time in the Granite State, which many consider to be his best option to get into this race, to call for the, quote, right balance on gun laws. All of this is focusing new attention on a recent Pew poll showing for the first time in decades a huge shift in favor of gun ownership and away from gun control in this country. Look at that. 52% believe that it is more important that they protect the right to own a gun than it is to control gun ownership. 52 to 46. So how does this play into the 2016 campaign? Joining us now, Katie Pavlich of townhall.com. She's a news editor there and a Fox News contributor. And Leslie Marshall, who's a progressive radio talk show host, also a Fox News contributor. Katie, it's been amazing to see this come up out of Wisconsin as it's becoming already an issue for Governor Walker there. But already the Republican candidates are speaking to guns and making guns a specific issue in their campaigns. Is it likely to stay? And who does it help and who does it hurt on the GOP side?
Well, Megan, gun control and gun rights are always a political topic, no matter what campaign you're running, whether it's local or presidential. And it does play well to Republicans because the majority of the country is on their side when it comes to protecting gun laws. Hillary Clinton's track record, however, being married to Bill Clinton, who, of course, has one of the most famous pieces of gun control legislation in history, who signed into law, she's going to have a real problem with that. But when it comes to this issue especially, this is very personal for people. Gun control and the right to self-defense, which is why people support gun rights and gun ownership, is much like kitchen table economics. It's very personal. There are decisions that have to be made, and people are going out and buying their first guns, but according to polling across the board, for self-protection. And so taking that right away from them becomes very personal. It doesn't play well to people who want to do that.
Well, it's not necessarily taking it away, but diminishing it or restricting it, which gets politicians in trouble because no one can take it away. It's written right into the Constitution. However, Leslie,
there are some people who want to.
Well, but Hillary Clinton's not going to go that far. She's not going to go out on that limb. You know, I mean, like, let's amend the Constitution to take away the Second Amendment. That would be kind of a deal breaker for any politician, given the strength of the NRA and the American people's feelings about guns. But you tell me, Leslie, whether this is just an issue for the GOP primary or whether it lasts into the general election, because more and more of these Republicans are getting focused on it.
I really think this is preaching to the choir. This is about the GOP primary, which one of them can wrap themselves in the flag of the NRA, if you will, and that Second Amendment. And I'm going to fight harder for you than anybody else. Jeb Bush talks about his record in Florida. Ted Cruz is taking this campaign on a broader level, wanting to lift that ban on military bases. And we see Chris Christie taking a very moderate stance in New Hampshire. This is certainly not speaking to the independents or the centrist, won't play in the general election as abortion and gay marriage hasn't in the past. The economy is #1 still for American voters, whether they're left, right, undecided, or don't want to declare.
But you tell me,
and that's what they're going to do in the
NRA
general
voters,
election.
right? NRA voters, people for whom gun rights are a main issue, they vote. They're motivated. They may not necessarily fall into the left wing, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't centrist. I haven't looked at that, but they're motivated. They're sort of like the seniors. They will show up on Election Day.
Yeah. Well, the NRA will certainly show up, but to Leslie's point about independents, actually, independents, as according to this new Pew polling, are actually more now in favor of protecting gun rights rather than implementing more gun control. And the majority of Americans, 60% plus, believe that the best way to deter crime is by owning a firearm. And that goes across all political spectrums. This isn't just a right-wing NRA issue. This is certainly an issue that bleeds into the middle. And there's a lot of blue dog Democrats who also believe in protecting gun rights instead of implementing more gun control. So it's not going to be an issue in 2016 only if Hillary Clinton stays away from it, because she knows politically that gun control is not something that's going to go in her favor.
What do you make of Chris Christie on this, Leslie? Because a few years back, he had an interview with our own Sean Hannity. This is 2009. And just looking at an excerpt of it, it was very interesting. Sean asked him, any issues on which you're a moderate? Or to the left as a Republican. And his answer was, I favor some of the gun control measures we have in New Jersey. Hannity said, bad idea. And he answered, defending it, saying, look, this is how I see it. Looking at it from a law enforcement perspective, seeing how many police officers were killed. We have an illegal gun problem in New Jersey. And he said that when Sean asked him, should every citizen in your state be allowed to get a licensed weapon? He said that's not going to happen with the Democratic legislature we have, and even suggested that he wouldn't support it. So is this a problem for him?
This is a problem for him with the core of the NRA, with an extremely right-wing faction of the GOP. It is not going to be a problem for him standing apart from the rest of the group, because he's the only one that's saying something different. So for those people that are disillusioned with the Republican Party of the past,
the way Rubio was different on immigration, but then when he decided to be president, he wanted to run for president, he wasn't so different all of a sudden.
Well, also, we have seen in the past, whether it's Romney or any other Republican or Democrat, that the party will rally around that person. What it comes down to is not just this poll. Remember, this poll is based on people believing that crime is worse when it isn't, and that they can defend themselves better against the crime that has not escalated, but rather been reduced by more than half, at least in the 90s.
It's tough to say, you're stupid to feel fearful. You just
no. What I'm saying is this going to be their issue? Is this going to be their issue? And I do not believe it will be.
All right.
It will not be in the general election the number one issue for Republicans.
It will not. Katie says it will not serve him.
It will not serve Chris Christie. No, not at all.
Great job, panel. Thank you.
With moderates, with center, in New Hampshire, it will. Remember,
Goodbye.
Majority of registered Republican voters.
I love it when they keep talking. That's why we need an online show, but it would have to go simultaneously with the real show for it to be really meaningful. And then I would lose you to online during the. We're not going to do that.